Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video. So on my previous flight, I noticed that Giga-Texas now has flying floors. What does that mean? I think it's time for us to discuss a little bit of the crash testing facility upgrades and what this means for Giga-Texas. First, as you know by watching my videos, Giga-Texas has a crash testing facility. It's located just on the east side of the battery cathode plant. Now, this facility is used as a form of destructive testing of vehicles. It could be to make sure that any modifications of design test properly. It could be just to verify crash testing. It also is a way for the engineers to validate some of the computer testing models that they use for crash testing. And there is a variety of different kinds of crash tests that you can see here. So let's look at some of these in detail. The frontal impact test is what most people think of when they think of crash testing. And based on the installed equipment at Giga-Texas, this is the only type of crash testing that I thought that they could perform. But with the flying floors, we will see that that has now changed. This uses a solid barrier, concrete or steel. The vehicle crashes at a specified speed. You can see with the inset image from Cybertruck delivery event what that looked like. And also this short video clip from Tesla gives you an idea how the test is performed. A second kind of testing is called the moderate overlap test, and it's a variation of the frontal impact testing. As you can see by these images of a Model Y undergoing this kind of test. This is very similar as far as the forces involved. However, only a smaller portion of the vehicle can take the impact loading. And this kind of testing is used around the world to verify passenger safety of vehicles sold. And this short video clip gives you an idea of how the test is performed and what the vehicle looks like when having this moderate overlap testing. Another type of test is side impact, which uses a sled with weights of about 3,500 pounds pulled on a cable towards a stationary vehicle. You can see with these images of a Cybertruck. This short video clip gives you an idea of how the test is conducted and the responses of the vehicle and also the sled. Now, the interesting thing is that these three types of tests were possible with the installed equipment at the crash testing facility at Giga-Texas. And to be honest, other than the frontal impact, I thought maybe these two are the only ones that could be performed. But with the flying floor installation, that has now changed. On my 8 December video, I noticed this structure just to the north of the crash testing facility. You could see what it looks like with the arrow, and it had flying floor labeled on it. I did some research, and it's a Messering flying floor. We'll be using their website and source material in this discussion, and the links will be in the video description. With this image, you can get a good sense of what it would look like with a vehicle on the flying floor and prep for crash testing. It can do a variety of different kinds of tests, frontal and rear, plus side impact tests, also pole impact tests onto the passenger or driver's side, and also rollover testing as well. Here's the data sheet from the Messering website. Gives you a lot of ideas of how this works and some of the details. It is used by regulatory agencies around the world. And here's some specs that are interesting. Max payload 4,500 kilograms or about 10,000 pounds. You can see some of the dimensions of how large this is, and you can compare it to the image that I took at Giga-Texas. And the max speed is about 50 kilometers an hour or about 31 miles per hour. This video clip gives you an idea of how it operates, and we'll do this in slow motion. As it impacts the wall, you can see the pistons that slow it down, and you can see the pull mechanisms that's used for the actual crash test. This short video clip using a Model Y demonstrates how a pole crash test is conducted and how the flying floor is used for this crash testing. The addition of a flying floor makes possible conducting rollover tests here at the Giga-Texas crash testing facility. And this is to test the roof pillars and the roof itself in an event of a rollover crash test. You can see how the flying floor is used with the vehicle. It impacts this sand area. And this short video clip gives you an idea of how the test is conducted using a Cybertruck. So there you have it. Giga-Texas not only has a crash testing facility here, but they continue to upgrade their capabilities, not only for current products, but I think this bodes well for the future as we think towards the development of the next generation vehicle. Having the capability of doing the design and testing on site, I think will be critical for that effort. So, not trying to make you into a crash testing expert, but I hope that you found this information helpful and useful and puts into context what we are seeing here on the site. So, without further ado, let's get into the drone. Let's fly around Giga-Texas and see what we can find going on today. If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Well, good morning from the east side of Giga-Texas. We're over on the material staging, the employee overflow lot, and also some of the trailers that are part of the construction of Giga-Texas. Now, one of the things I want to start with right off the bat is in the bottom, coming to the center of the screen, we see another area of excavation. This is new. And looks like maybe this could be related to the water management pond up in the upper right and now center, as they are continuing to do some of the trenching on the left. Also, while we're here, as we talked about in the intro, the crash test lab has been very busy, and with some of the upgrades, particularly the flying floor, it really has given them a lot more capability to use that crash test facility. Now, the water management pond, or the sedimentation basin, we can see on the bottom all of those pipes. Again, that's part of a filtration system that has been installed. We also see some of the outflow and inflow channels that are in concrete. You can see some of the pipes on the left that head underneath that berm and off to the east to drain it, and some of that seed mixture for the berms as well for erosion control. This is a good view of that wade pit, and just how the entire east side continues to have less and less material. So it looks like it's being cleaned out, which is a great sign. Maybe we'll start seeing more of the paving that we see next to the cell test lab on the center of the screen go all the way down to the south. So it's possible, something that I'll be watching for. On the northeast side, more of the staging of equipment, those tanks, some of those kind of that silver tubular items on the right, still waiting to see them being moved in, and just generally how this part of the site looks. There's more excavation work up to the northeast, but we'll take a look at that in a future video. The lift station continues to have progress. You can see all of the covers, for the most part, on these concrete vaults have been placed. They're doing some filling in of more of the trench work around where the pipes come in and exit, and then there's some pipe manifolds in those concrete vaults as well. We also see the west side, the graded work, and also the concrete work that is going on top of those white pipes on the left of the screen. This is right over where the steel corrugated pipes for the water management system go from the north to the south. So it looks like they're preparing this for either asphalt or concrete on top to help protect them from crushing. We're going to take a zoom in here and take a look at this equipment that's next to these trailers. Looks like maybe some boxes, some green tanks, some pipes, and a pump. So it'll be interesting to see if we can find out where those are being used. Also, while we're zoomed in, the chiller plant continues to have quite a bit of activity on the ground floor. Looks like we're seeing steam coming up from all four of the Evapco chiller or cooler units, the fan units on the top, and a good view down the alleyway, taking a look at the work for the conduit that is going underneath between the two buildings right here on the north side, the vaporizers and the tanks, some more of the concrete that has been just poured. We saw that happening on my previous video, and then more conduit work. This will be electrical because we can tell with that red topped kind of concrete on top of the conduits going into those concrete vaults. So that looks like that's being wrapped up, and then we'll see concrete poured on top of that as well. While we're here, we'll fly up to a higher altitude, take a look at that overflow lot down on the ground where they're preparing for more of the Tesla Road expansion to the east, and a good view looking back across the alleyway and the die shop on this part of the site. So as we continue to proceed towards the west, I wanted to give you a good view here of the intersection, that blue truck with that accordion trailer, I believe, waiting to move through. All the trailers on the right, which is temporary offices, and this detention pond has had the berm work completed, repairing some of the erosion that we have seen over the last few months. So let's take a look at the electrical switch yard and see some of the details today. Now, we've seen some of the crews working on more of the electrical wire through the conduit. You can see those 3 spools on the left next to that front end loader, I believe, and also some more work on those vaults and the underground conduits that continue to connect the switch yard and the Megapack site on the right. Now, there are some changes at the Megapack site I want to point out. First, on the north end, the gravel has now been spread over the entire section. So that's yet another great sign that commissioning is very soon, if not already happened. We also see along the fence line a lower level kind of a mesh that's been put on about half of the height of the fence. I'll try to give you a good view here. The sun is making it slightly difficult, but at this altitude you can see the workers, you can see the fence, and at the bottom level there's kind of a mesh. There's some speculation that this may be an electric fence, possibly to help discourage critters from coming through the fence and getting into the Megapacks. But I'll try to turn back over the Megapack so you can see that fence line, and you can get a better view here of the mesh material on the bottom, say, half of the fence. So another final part of getting this ready to go, and hopefully we'll see this commissioned by the end of this month. We'll continue flying towards the factory. We'll cross over Tesla Road, and we'll take a look at some of the details on the north end of the building today. As we approach the 4680 production cell portion of the factory, a few things I want to show you. We've seen these crates being delivered. There's one that has been uncrated. You can see that kind of yellow plastic around what looks to be a series of white cabinets. It's kind of hard to specifically tell what those are, but it's at least good to see what was in the cabinets. We also see continued work in the lower level section with the windows removed, preparing for concrete on a second floor mezzanine. More steel work has been delivered on top of that shorter platform going into the third floor, and just other work that is continuing to finish out this expansion inside this portion of the factory. We also see some interesting large deliveries coming up here on the left. Specifically, it looks like one of the large platens that's used possibly for one of the casting machines. Now, this could be a replacement platen or it could be for a new one. The size of the trailer gives you an idea of the weight. I'll try to zoom in here so you get a good view of what it looks like. Couldn't quite read the label, but if you're able to identify this, this would be awesome. Now, it was here on the northwest corner at the time of my video, but later on I came back and took some photos, and it was being maneuvered to go inside casting. And here's a good photo showing you where this was going, and you can see that trailer maneuvering to go into that door. So we know that it's definitely going into casting. Now, another thing that we did learn on the Sandy Monroe recent video, talking to many of the senior leadership of Tesla, the Giga castings that are made for the Cybertruck are interesting because the rear casting uses the 9,000 ton Giga Press. The front one uses the 6,500 Giga Presses that have already been installed. In addition to having the capability of making the Model Y front and rear castings, we also now know that it makes the front casting for the Cybertruck. And that definitely changes the calculation that I had and others had as far as production of castings and for production of the Cybertruck. So great to know that. With this zoom in on the east side, give a good sense of more of the items being prepared to finish up the furnace installation. Plus we can see a lot more of the castings. On the ground are still some of the rear castings, but I'm being told that a lot of the castings are going directly from the Giga Presses through the inside of the building over to where they're making production. So if that's true, that would kind of answer why we're not seeing all of that on the outside. On the roof, there's a good view of that ventilation system that's being installed. This, I believe, is the inlet, and there'll be filter elements in those square silver items that are on top of each of the vents. And of course, the ducted fan will help bring the air in and then blow it into the casting machine structure, and then it will exit where the windows used to be on this side. You can see those grates. So as I maneuver the drone here, I'm going to zoom back in, give you a good view on the east side of the building, and you can see more of the castings, more of the items, but a lot less of them for that furnace installation. Also, the stain work on the walls is almost complete. It's just this one section just about ready to be finished up. And this section with that open door is where the large trailer will be bringing that large item in for unloading. And a good view of many of the castings and racks. The section here where the electrical wiring has been installed along the berm. They're actually widening the berm even more. It looks like they're trying to make it as wide as possible for possibly turnaround for a lot of the trailers that will be coming in the near future. Now, here's something a little different. This smaller supercharger station, which is actually the first one that was installed at Giga-Texas, is starting to be used, it looks like, for Cybertrucks. And you can see two of them here being supercharged. We'll see a few more over in the outbound lot and more of them over in the covered supercharger section. But with this view, it gives you an idea of where exactly we are talking right now. And as I pull away, I'll show you all of the Model Ys that are lined up here at the outbound lot ready for the transports, and you can see 3 of the Cybertrucks, but that's about it in the outbound lot. And as I pull away, it gives you a good view of the entire side of this section, and the number of Model Ys is at a pretty good clip now, and the amount of trucks that are picking up and leaving is at a fairly high rate now. So I think that they're probably ramping Model Ys pretty good. But I don't know what the exact number is. You can see work here along the road. It looks like they're preparing to connect it to this new road that goes from the right to the left-hand side of the screen. You can see some of the work that is underway here. And that'll connect this part of the site down to the south near the multi-level parking garage and then around to the south end. This set of trailers with all of these concrete parts, the double T panels, and some of them are exterior panels and some columns. This is all for that multi-level parking garage. And we'll get a closer look at the construction, which is really moving on along pretty quickly over there shortly. As we come up to the testing and calibration lot, again, we see the wind tunnel on the right with that green temporary generator, the rainmaker with the orange doors on the bottom, the test track on the left, and a number of Model Ys finishing up their final checks here. And getting ready to move to the outbound lot. I did notice 5 more of these Cybertrucks earlier at the end of the superchargers, and hopefully that view there gives you a good idea of what that was like. I wish I could catch everything on video, but sometimes I do shots of images earlier and I was able to capture those, and then when I got back for video they just weren't there. But you can get a good sense of the activity here at the outbound lot with a lot of the Model Ys that are going on today. As we cross over the sedimentation basin, we'll get closer to the site where the multi-level parking garage is being constructed. With this zoom in, you can see a double T on the ground getting ready to be lifted up. You can see other ones have been installed already. You can see basically the 7 floors of the structure and a good view of the footing work that is continuing to expand here on the east side. And it'll be neat to see what the final look of that multi-level parking garage will be, because you can see that they have some of those smaller panels look almost like windows in certain sections. So I'm kind of curious to see how that will come together. But this is a good view again of the work further to the east of the main structure, and you can see where it's going to continue to expand. And then on the bottom you can see the road that we had talked about earlier. On the left, we see more of the earthwork preparing that berm over the water management manifold of steel corrugated pipes. And then here's a different and a closer view of the footings and how this work continues to progress. You can see in the middle where they're making those two large bands instead of just a regular footing. And it looks like they're going to have at least 4 of those, or maybe 5 of those, possibly more as they continue the construction. Here's a closer in view of this side of the parking garage and how it looks today, and a good view of those kind of like window items that you see on the center right. They also have kind of like wires or poles down the middle of those, so it's not really closing it off, but it's maybe putting those in to prevent people from accidentally walking through, and it allows ventilation through as well. So I'm going to kind of do a 360 around this side just so you get a good view of how it looks today. You see on the center left more of that double T panel just got installed, and then the one on the ground getting ready to be installed as well. And so a lot of progress with that parking garage. Here's a good view of the east side of the south end of Body in White and also stamping. And during that Monroe video that was just released today, Lars, the guy that does the structural engineering of the vehicles, talked about the stamping press, and he confirmed that we have Schuler and AIDA stamping presses. They also confirmed that they do some of the powder coating of the black steel cage, that passenger cage between the two castings for the Cybertruck, and that's all done on the south end as well. And we've watched a lot of that material being delivered and installed in this part of the building. We see that blue section getting some rebar work. I'll come in closer later in the video and give you a better look at what is going on there. And overall, the thing I want to show you is the steel structure on the south end for the extension is growing further to the west. They are also installing the decking for the floors, and the 3 glass panels are still there. If you look at the beam that those glass panels are attached to for the second floor, they have these mounts, and they go all the way across, and that's the same mounts that they use for the windows. So that suggests that we're going to see windows all along the bottom floor of this entire structure. And again, that's a good view of the floor decking that's been installed, and I'll give you a closer view even a little later in the video. But I wanted to pull away, just give you a good view of this south end. You see all the steel at the bottom being arranged for this structure. And here's a good view of how it continues to grow towards the west. Looks like mostly the first floor for about 5 column widths has been added, and then we'll start seeing that grow to the north and south from there before we see the second floor. It's also a good view of the footing work that is continuing, that perimeter grade beam that is defining almost the entire angled corner now, and soon that'll reach the end of that section, and then they will extend it towards the building. I did notice this new workshop on the left with that plastic covered along with these containers, and as I get a little bit closer, this is a good view of all the rebar work that is underway. They're making more of those rebar cages for the footings. You see some of them on the ground. Again, a good view of that perimeter grade beam going off in the angle, and the work here to define that perimeter grade beam on the ground as well. I'm going to bring the drone down just a little bit lower. I want to give you a good sense of how the footings, the column bases, all of this looks on this portion. There's some concrete that's already been poured, and they're getting ready for form work. Also, I wanted to show you in this door, you can see a Cybertruck. I think right now they're using this exit as one of the 2 for the end of line now. The other one coming in from the right-hand side of the screen. And they're not using it, as you can see, with those roped off areas because of the work that's going on with this panel to finish up the texture and the staining to finish that part of the south of the wall. As we continue to fly towards the structure again, this is a good view of how the steel is arranged. The crane is getting ready to pick up some of the parts. That perimeter grade beam that has a lot of concrete on this section right now. There is that gap in the perimeter grade beam, and I think that's just to allow the crane to be able to exit, and eventually that will go all the way across. See more of the formwork being removed where the concrete's been poured. and also just a good view of the steel assembly at a lower altitude. Now I'm going to get it ready and zoom in so you get a good sense of the scale here. Just take a look at the workers, the size of the floor. Each of these floors is at least double height. So I would expect potentially to have some mezzanines added in later on. And that was a good view of the windows as well. And of course the perimeter grade beam on the bottom getting ready for concrete and more of those windows at some point in the future. As we fly over the roof, we can see the roof decking all laid out, getting ready to be installed. And this is that close-in view of the blue moisture barrier and this kind of a L section and some of the rebar work that is going on. I'm not sure exactly why they're doing this, but it's possible, since we're near stamping, that this may have a smaller stamping press installed at some point in the future. So it'd be something worth watching as time goes on. And I'll reposition the drone here and just give you a good view of the south end from a slightly different angle. I'll bring the drone back down and over towards these two platforms because there's an interesting set of deliveries here as well today. You can see that forklift bringing out those crates from these trailers. What we will see, and I'll give you a good zoom in here, is that these are Mino automation parts, and it's quite a lot of them, as you can tell by the crates, the size next to the workers. And this is something we've also seen being delivered up at the casting machine structure a couple months ago. And I think this, it either may be related to Cybertruck, or it could be partially preparing for that next gen vehicle as they continue to build out the factory on this side. So we'll cross over the highway. We'll resume here next to the warehouse on wheels on the west side. And I'm going to just concentrate near this main building today. I'll bring the drone down and just show you some of these interesting deliveries. You see these kind of these square red items on the bottom right. Not exactly sure what those are, but these three gray units, I believe this is the heating and ventilation system. We're going to see 3 of these installed on the west side of the end of line building, and then maybe another smaller one that we just passed over as well. And we go over the material staging yard and get lower, and we can see the pylons are mostly installed, most of the conduit. And again, this, I believe, is going to be where we will see the covered supercharger station of approximately 96 superchargers once it is completed. See some workers talking near this pylon. And also, as we climb up and proceed further to the west, what I want to show you is near where the paving is being done. There's some concrete work that's also underway, and they're filling in over this long conduit that will be eventually covered over by the asphalt, or it may be a walking path that they do that will be made out of concrete. We've seen something similar on the east side, so just watching to see what they will end up doing here. Now, I mentioned those heating and cooling units. You can see some of the concrete pads next to the wall where the ventilation ducts are coming out. I think that this is where those units are destined to be installed. And again, there should be 3 of these, and then I'm not sure where that smaller unit will be installed, but most likely on this side of the building. I also wanted to give you a good sense of more of the trench work that is underway, the various types of pipes that are being installed in the trench that they are doing. Also some of the work near the west wall of the building as well. Now I'm going to continue to maneuver the drone around here just to give you a better view of all of the various trenches and pipes. But one of the big changes, or the big thing that I noticed today, is they are starting to do connections for the electrical conduit through that HDPE pipe that was pulled through underneath the road with that horizontal drilling. And as I maneuver the drone here, I'll bring it down and give you a good view. You can see the worker in that concrete vault. Also on the left, you can see the HDPE pipe and then the other pipes that emit out from there. And then you can see other pipe works going. Now that is how this entire section is going to get electricity, as the electrical wires are going through that conduit under the road over to the main building. We see more trench work underway here on the east side, and give you a good sense of some of the concrete pipes that are there and what they are working on now. You also see that trench box that's there where the workers are to prevent it from collapsing in as they're putting more of these concrete pipe units. And again, another good view from a different perspective of this south end where that covered supercharger system would be, plus the conduit work that is underway. So as I bring the drone up to a higher altitude, in the distance you can see that work that's continuing on that far southwest clearing. Next video I'll give you a better, closer view of what's going on there. But overall, just a good view across the West Warehouse on Wheels, the material staging yard, all of the activity that is going on there, and of course the contractor parking lot on the left. So anyway, that's a good view of a lot of the site today, plus some new information that we got from the Monroe video that came out today with the interview with the senior executives. And I hope that you enjoyed that information. As always, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I hope you have a great week. Take care.